the light of this, should we continue to plan our future around offering incentives to bring jobs to Port Alberni, or might it be just as good to offer people incentives to live here and pay taxes here, even if their jobs are over the hump?
The coal port and our current trade agreements, we don't have a lot of choices. What do we do? What do we do to protect our watershed? I support a different type of logging. I support, valuing our wood at a much higher value, putting those other values into the wood. I support value added. So I don't think we should be logging the way that we are. Clear cutting to me is a crime against humanity. You mentioned that it's a human right. It is. And in our changing climate, we can't afford to be doing this kind of logging.
Thanks for the question. Water is like the most important thing. One of the most important things, and we need to protect it. One of the things that I think we should consider as an option is to initiate discussions to own that watershed so that we control who goes in and who goes out. You don't see people logging in the Capilano watershed over North Vancouver. Nobody's even allowed in there. So it's very, very important, and we have to protect it in whatever means we can. Thank you.
Having control of our watershed is very important to me, as I mentioned in the opening speech, that I had advocated years ago for Lizard Lake, the island timberlands to adopt Crown forestry practices when they were logging too close to the water's edge. It's a no-brainer for me that this is really, really important for our community. Continuing that.
At every convention we've had at the Union of British Columbia's, resolutions come from the City of Port Alberni, endorsed by every community in the province, that we control our own watershed, the cities. We have put that recommendation to the provincial government probably for the last 5 years. It's really been on deaf ears. They've never moved on it. And then in the meantime, we have to have some control out of that. Because it's being logged by Island Timber, it's being logged by Timber West, both private companies who say that they own the property, which they do, and they own the timber. So we have to work with them. Western Forest Products has also got a bit of crown land in that area. So as a community, we have been working on it. With the West Island Working Group on Certification, Canadian Standards Association standards that we work on in this community. We have a group of 23 people. We've been together for 10 years, and so we make sure that they have the best standards, the toughest standards that we can get as far as Canadian Standards Association is concerned. You have to remember, 95% of this country goes with Canadian Standards Association. So we do our utmost to make sure that they log by the highest standards. We have offered to see if we can negotiate that land with some other land that they have, but that's in the works, and that's down the road. And until the government steps in and says that the municipality has control of their own watershed, not too much is going to change.
Next question.
My name is Bill Rambles. Concerning the city's infrastructure, do you see any real critical issues long-term? I'm thinking next 5 to 10 years in our city's infrastructure. When I'm talking infrastructure, I'm talking whether it's roads, it's water service, water mains, sewers, storm drains.
We'll start with Mayor McRae.
Well, probably the crisis situation that we're at. When I came on council 10 years ago, I was the council involved in that. It's got to do with our sewer system. As you know, we have the best fishing in the world in the Somas estuary. We have a lagoon system where we have something like 6 aerators. We have a primary system. The government is after us now that we have to do something. We have to get serious about it. We can't continue to do it. You think Victoria's got a system that's out of whack. Well, you look at the one we have in Port Alberni. So we're working with them right now and putting a brand new system in. And we're discussing this with Catalyst Paper. We're going to be kind of unique because they have a lagoon system on the other side of the Somas River where they have 8 different systems, pockets where they can where they used to bring their sewer in, which they don't do anymore. So we're looking at either buying that off them or leasing it off them so we can have a first-class system. We're just about there with the government as far as funds coming from the federal government for that. It's probably going to be something like a $20 million project, but that's going to be a priority for us coming down the road very, very quickly because they could stop us using our sewer system. Paul River spent $10 million on the sewer system that didn't work. They are now got an agreement with Catalyst Paper where they're going into their bug plant. But if that mill ever shut down in Fall River, they'd be out of luck. They wouldn't have a sewer system. We want to have an independent sewer system that's going to be here for the next 100 years, and it's going to happen.
I understand that the current sewer system that we have, where the location of the, what is it called, the lagoon, right? That there are several people who have recently retired from in the last 6 years. It hasn't really been maintained as it was previously before, and I don't know if that has to do with planning issues or what it has to do with. But any kind of infrastructure with the city, especially with regards to, I just want to bring up something that I just found out recently that I think is really important. If the valley decides to go to regional service, that city water licenses and infrastructure will be handed over to the ACRD. I'm not sure about this, but if this is something I need to learn more about, and if it has anything to do with privatizing, our water, then this is something that really needs to be studied very closely. So there's a lot of issues, I think, when it comes down to infrastructure for our city. It comes down to planning and efficiency. Planning is really, really important.
Thank you. As far as our infrastructure goes, we've been cutting back in a lot of areas for a long period of time in order to deal with our economies. And from what I understand from the people that I've discussed this with at our city works yard and throughout the city is a lot of the times we're running around just trying to fix things to keep things running instead of, sort of working ahead. We have introduced a couple of things like DCCs, so when somebody comes in for a big development, that will help cover part of that infrastructure. And we may have to raise the percentage that those DCs are to deal with that. The other thing we can do is attract new development, such as the seniors community, where the old high school, once it's vacated, will be. And developments like that will help provide us a better tax base so that we can hire more staff to deal with the infrastructure so that we can move forward into the future and have all those core services that we really want to have as a city to our lifestyle, because we want to have our sewer, we want to have our water, we want to have our streets, we want to have our snowplows. So those are the few things I feel that we can work towards to keep our infrastructure and to improve on it. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Bill. In Port Alberni, I was told by Guy Seesaw, the city engineer, that our roads have a 200-year rotation. So in other words, if you see a road being paved today, they're not going to get back to it until another 200 years. The sewers, I'm also very concerned about them, but for a different reason, and that is because our rainfall is increasing. So I see that as being very difficult both on our roads and on our sewers. And the increased rainfall is something that needs to be in the planning. I find a lot of denial of climate change on this particular council, and I don't see that planning taking place.
Thank you. Next question, please.
It's quite possible that we faced many years of falling property values, rising structural unemployment, and a generally poor economy for small business in this community as well as everywhere else in Canada. I've heard a lot of people, all four of you say that you're going to expand this program and spend more on this and work with another government on this. And if these funds don't materialize, which of you is prepared to downsize services and try to reduce property taxes?
Start with Jen Fisher, Bradley, please.
Well, I can tell you that I am prepared to do that, and I've been talking about it in my platform. We have some major belt tightening coming up. And I've already written to the Premier, Christy Clark, and said to her, where is this going to come from? We have, local government has certain areas that it has to look after. Recreation is one of them. And I said to her, is that where it's going to be? Is it going to be in recreation? Because we can't do without our sewers. We can't do without our roads. So I'm the tough person that can do this. I was a single mother. I had to do this quite regularly. So it's not about popularity, and this will be a very difficult term for that very reason. The economy is in shambles. They're still arguing over there about the Eurozone, and if that goes under, and the thing is we still have these derivatives. The United States has not got rid of the derivatives. That's what happened in 2008. So our economy is in shambles. It's in shambles because of bank fraud and a lot of other reasons, and nobody's been prosecuted as yet. So, you know, tough times. And I'm that tough person that can say no, and it's not going to upset me.
Thank you. I'm a very optimistic person. We're going to have to keep an eye on our services, but frankly, I live in this city and I want to maintain the services that we have. I want to maintain the level, the standard of living that we have and that we strive for. So we have to figure out a way how to do that, and that's what I want to do. So I think we've really scrutinized our services, whether it's the staff at City Hall, the management who are constantly being criticized, the full-time fire department who people want to get rid of, the people who say the street people don't do any work, they just sort of hold shovels. Well, they all work really hard and they've all been scrutinized, and we've pared them back if you study it carefully. And so I think what we need to do is attract new development, develop new concepts for moving ahead into different industries. And by industries, I mean things like health as an industry, seniors community as an industry, an educational center as an industry. And if we do these things, we can create economies out of them, and we can attract people who are going to come here and raise their families and take part in all the services that we have in our city, and we're going to thrive and move ahead into the future. And that's the way I approach it. Thank you.
Part of what I've been saying, and that you can read in the brochure that I gave you and online too, and part of my platform is very much about diversifying our economy in Port Alberni. We've very much been a one-industry town for quite a long time. The emphasis has been on heavy industry. Heavy industry goes through boom-bust-based economies. By diversifying our economy, what I'm talking about is attracting people and companies, industries to come and invest in Port Alberni. The only way that we're going to be able to do that, first of all, which I'm getting to the question here, is about one of the main things that I would like to accomplish as mayor, first off, is to have an operational, comprehensive audit at City Hall. And open up all the books and find out exactly where the money's being sent, and to make it run as efficiently as it possibly can. My work working with other municipalities across British Columbia has afforded me the opportunity to work with so many different individuals who are prime, talented individuals across this country who make cities run super efficiently. I think we have a lot to learn about how we can run more efficiently as a municipality. And by diversifying our economy, we will, of course, like just what John was saying, is that we can we'll have a larger tax base to work from. And I think that's the most important thing that we can do, is start working toward that. I really believe that my experience, I have the ability to communicate out there to the rest of the world, my experience across working with people nationally across Canada, and I think I have the communication skills to be able to do something like that.
Well, just like the main thing with taxes, 93% of the taxes that come out of your community go to the provincial and federal government. And we have to fight like heck to get anything out of them for grants or anything else. And that's my job as the national negotiator for this community and for the Alberni Clackwatt. So we have started with the federal government. They're finally starting to listen on getting some of this tax gas money back that we are using for our infrastructure, that we will use for our sewer lagoon, that we will use for other projects in the community. We started out with 1%. Now we're up to 2%. Then the last Prime Minister said that's going to be there forever. The next convention we're going for 3%. So that's where we have to get our money back. You know, if you look at the new industries coming down the road, you had better look what's happening in the Scandinavian countries. They're the leaders in the world in everything. They're the leaders in the world in wood fiber. The pulp mills that they shut down, they're now building plane parts out of them. They're building car parts out of them. They're building fuel out of them for their cars. They're even building fuel out of them for making tires. They're way ahead of us. We have to get into that. We're having meetings with people next week with Woodtech 21 about doing biocoal and other issues for wood. We have lots of wood in this area. Wood fiber is probably more valuable than oil will ever be, because it's going to be here forever. And with the new market and the new things that they're starting to use for wood fiber, we have to get our act together. Do you realize that China is using biocoal instead of using ordinary coal? This biocoal is coal that they barbecue out of wood. 30% of the world's bio-coal is now being used in China. You know what it is in Canada? 4%. Shame on us with all the trees that we got in this country. That not only cuts greenhouse gases, it brings jobs to the community, and we're working on that.